that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there everyone, and welcome to this once again, fully raw, spontaneous live video for me today. As you know, I had so many things prepared, but as always, and actually in relation to this topic today, things went in a whole different direction. So I want to talk about today about the full surrender. I mean, surrender of all control. Can you imagine? I mean, we can all say and think that as well, you know, as spiritual beings here on earth. We think, okay, you know, we're always going to have a little of control left, right? Because that is what makes us humans. And we all know, especially those of us who follow the laws of love, not just, you know, so many beliefs that are trying to be sold to us at all different angles and from so many perspectives and teachings and teachers and whatnot. But truly, the way love teaches is so organic. It cannot be compared to anything else, you know, on the planet. And the deeper I go as well in my own journey of ascension and the new body and really embodying this new template, the more I'm like, hello, you know, it's like so many of the things that we think about ourselves, the things we say, I'm going to do that and then I'm going to get to the next level, or I only have to finish this and then I'll be prepared for this and that. And behind so many of that, which we believe, it's kind of like the way we're goal oriented and the way we're structured, and we somehow need that structure, still kind of, you know, it hinders us because, as you know, we can consciously affirm, yes, it's okay, I'm relaxed, but I'm still doing things. But somehow the subconscious elements of our psyche, the way we live as human beings, are still so deeply influential. And now with this Venus retrograde, you know, as it started, I started talking about the surrender of control, and I started going a little, you know, softly in it, nudges and nudges. And I think the deeper it goes, now that it's coming towards its culmination and the rising again, coming out on top, you know, we've survived. It's kind of like it's going deeper. And I have to share my recent experience with you, which kind of is the body's language or the body's way to help us in this process. Because so many times when we have body symptoms, we will say, oh, the body is this unintelligent creature that has no idea what we're going through. We're supposed to ascend and the body doesn't allow us. That's why the body has these symptoms. And that's a whole wrong notion. That's a totally wrong perspective, because the body is innocent in its way. It's all its primal desires, sensations, feelings, right? And now when we're stepping into the new body, and you know, this is my new embodiment path, and I'm going to very soon create this course, and it's kind of like a lot of metaphysical awareness behind this. But in this video, I want to talk about the preliminary you know, predecessing aspects that we all need to focus on first if we even want to establish something called the new body, right? This is the guidance that was coming through my Lumen Council group. They were saying you need to do the first step, okay? You need to do that final surrendering and that giving up, which most people, let's face it, they don't want to. They all like to keep at least a little percentage of control. They say, I'm going to do the spiritual things and do the spiritual work, but I'm going to keep a little of my self-control. The tricky part is the control, the self-control, we don't even notice, okay? That's the tricky part. So when the body starts to produce these symptoms, it's its own natural language that tells us, look, this is what we're working on now, okay? You have to allow it. Because we will usually think it's the body's problem, but it's not. It's the old residual aspects that the mind, the lower mind, the controlling aspect of it still has, and the way it influences the body, which naturally responds to this, okay? So in my recent experience, I was noticing very strong, dense contractions in my solar plexus area, in my belly, right? And I had this in the past, but it was usually maybe lasting a day, maximum 2, and then it just waned away. Something felt like it's integrated. Not this time though, right? This time it happened before the 11/11 gateway, a few days before, and it's kind of still ongoing. And the contractions were like not produced by a thought or an idea I have, like, oh, I have to do this, and then the contraction begins. It's something, you know, you try to push yourself. And I've been pushing myself all my life. I've been sharing this with you. For me to even get things finished the way I needed to pull through with so much guidance and so many of the things I needed to kind of create so they could be available to a larger amount of people, the greater group, collective. Work had to be done. And many times this made me consider it like, oh, it has to be done now. This is the aspect which is false, right? So for us to notice how this is still influencing us, even when our consciousness feels like it's pure, we're aware, we're more relaxed now, we're more with the flow, we allow more. But we can say things, like people say affirmations. They say, oh, it's okay to let go, it's okay to surrender. Then you put your hand there or you try to feel the energy and it's still the same. And you're like, what the heck? I did my affirmations, I did this work, I'm surrendering, I'm relaxing. This work on the conscious body has been done, okay? But now what we're really doing is we're moving into the elements of our psyche, of the aspects of us that are they used to be so dormant, that even with all of our consciousness, everything we've integrated, it's like we still can solve it, right? And this is what I've been talking about for so long. Watch my galactic update on this surrendering. It started with the journey of the light worker and the culmination and the synthesis of this work and the journey of the light worker and where it's now leading towards. It's like there's still an element of, we can do it, we're going to do it. But it's like the greater aspect of this spirit and spirit trust still can be accessed, because there is no like 90% you trust spirit, 10% you don't. And you say, I'm kind of like 90% on the scale of trust, how much I trust. It's not like that. Either you do or you don't. I know it sounds kind of like black and white. There's many levels in between, of course, when we're kind of like integrating that and mastering divine trust. And I even have a mastery course called, the Mastering of Divine Trust, which is basically trusting spirit, trusting life. It's kind of like that pull, that vertical knowing, which is that higher consciousness and you being aware of it. And then pulling it into this horizontal plane, which sometimes feel like it's in complete opposition to that. It's kind of like in resistance to that greater aspect of you. So where this mostly come out will be aspects of your life that somehow, they're so hidden. But what we're going to be shown is these examples of how we can release, like in a gentle way, gentle steps, baby steps, because this is not something, this is an element of the human psyche that we as beings of light, the light collective, are working on. But we have to use completely different perspective now. It's not like, okay, then I'm going to work for it, right? This work, always work for you to get to the next level. It's not going to work here, okay? Because when you find yourself to come at a point where everything you've tried doesn't work, it literally tells you there is nothing to work on. The only thing you can do is like have full trust and surrender, that this is the process. The body is going through a process. You have to give it time. Sometimes it will feel like the mind, the body, that they're clashing. You, as the intermediary force, the consciousness, is here to observe. You are here as a neutralizing force. This is how Christed consciousness operates, is that unifying force of life. So you're not here to step in between and say, hey, who's the bad guy? Who's the good one? I'm going to decide here. I'm going to know what to do then. This control now is being really surrendered. Okay, so when we have examples of this, and all we have to do is simply be aware of it. It's like, be aware, oh, there's an element of control. And I am literally not even in control of my own control. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the realization I had today. It was funny because I was dancing right after a very long time because I had so much work, as always, per usual. I went to dance and I said, I want to do this Side Force dance that I do. And I know how, because it's in my teachings, it's in my Cosmic Dance for the Galactic Human course. It's a beautiful masterwork I was going through at that time, and I'm still in the development of it. I'm going back to it more. And each time you go back to it, it's like you're deepening the process. So I said, okay, it's time to start now. Even with all the work, I have to start somewhere. And I had this dance, and as you know, I live in a tiny space. It's not really space to dance. There's so many, as you can see, these objects here, and I can bump into anything at any time. It can be quite challenging, for someone to be so free in their expression. Because when I get really in this, becoming the spiral, the embodiment of the spiral, I can bump into things and just like twirl, and I'm like a tornado going anywhere. And the fact is that in this tiny space, there still has to be an element of control, right? I have to somehow watch my body to completely not have it totally out of control, because then I can bump into things. So I was noticing today that this control is like, it's always present, even if it's like minimum level. But then there's the other element of control, right? I have this mirror here and I can see myself. And then I see this move made. Ooh, this move's made in a bad way. That's not good. I don't like it. Ooh, this is not too exercisey. It's not moving enough. Oh, it's like you're always kind of trying to navigate something in a certain way. And when you notice yourself and you recognize this as control, that's our first step, is to simply notice it and say, wow, I'm still controlling myself. I can still be a control freak, with all my knowledge and awareness and purity and wisdom. This is the groundwork we're doing now, the base where this comes from, because some of us have chosen these lifetimes and the ancestral lineages that we wanted to really work with because it was fascinating for us as volunteer souls. We say, yeah, we're going to work with that really super challenging element because we want to. I really want to learn how to create the new body template, even amidst this chaotic environment that will be a part of this human body process. Okay, so the first thing is to really just simply acknowledge it. Or when you have, like I had, this belly contraction, simply say, oh, acknowledge it, and don't say, I'm going to try breath work, then I'm going to try this and yoga and this. Trying, this level, this complete surrender, total trust that the body now is divine intelligence. It has all it needs. The body now has all the living light codes. We simply have to allow it to unfold. Okay, so yesterday I was meditating and where I was in this new body template process, and they showed me like 50% download, and I said, what is that? And they kind of compared it with the computer program, which you kind of like you download the program, and sometimes it goes a little fast at the beginning, and then kind of and then towards the end you're like, is it gonna download already? And then you start to control the process, right? So they were showing me how much this new body template is directly linked to this complete surrender, because we think we're in charge of the way we receive our new bodies, the way we're going to create them, but there's a huge element of it we're really not in control of. And these are the elements that are now what they're showing me being shown in our bodies. If you're one of the people who also notice contractions here, this is the will aspect. The plexus is not just the root of our emotions and our emotional responses. So you don't immediately have to think, oh, I have unprocessed emotion here. Not necessarily. You might, of course. You have to do the inner research here. That's up to you, right? I can't tell you this individually. But there can only be something as simple as there is a movement of the center of will is moving now, and it's not even moving from plexus to heart. It's just a unifying process, and a part of this unifying process, because especially if you're a very intelligent individual, it will be harder for individuals who are very intelligent. And this was all, of course, also in my channel about the new body process, and I share this with you, that those of you who have immense applications of so much knowledge learned, maybe some of you through many eons of lifetimes. It's just, this is not about that even, so I was once again shown, I was taken back to an experience of the dance, because the only time I was actually able to dance in a big room, it was like a hall somewhere, was when someone invited me to go dance with a group of women. It's supposed to be this expressive dance. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try. I never go anywhere, because I'm an individual. I like to do things my own way, because, I'm already my own control freak. Why would someone else, tell me what to do? But I thought, well, if this is an expressive thing, then it'll just be women dancing there, no one looking at me or whatnot. Well, guess what happened, right? The first time I actually get to dance in a big room, I was so excited. I couldn't let go. I couldn't whine. I had this costume, right? And because the woman told me, we can wear anything. I said, okay, I already have my dance outfits. Why not bring them along? And it's like people looking at me like, who is this girl? But she's dressed like this, just casually dressed. I'm like, I can dress in a sweater and jeans. Sorry. I had to bring my dancing outfits because they put me in that flow. It's like, weaving of this spiraling movement. And then all of a sudden, I was so in my element. This woman, right, who's supposed to be the leader of the group or whatever, she comes to me and starts dictating me what to do and not dance like this and let go. Don't do so much of the belly work. Why are you putting this into your moves? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be an expressive dance? Why is this woman trying to teach me how to dance, how to behave, how to be in that room? It felt so off, and I'm sharing this with you now because so many people think that's okay, and it's not, because that's not her domain. My body is not her domain. You know, anyone who considers themselves to be a teacher or anything like that, they can't. You can be a facilitator. You can share the space. You can be the one who brings group together. You can lead circles of light, whatever, but you can't enter the domain of someone's sacredness in their temple, what they do, how they do it. And I remember a few years back, I went to yoga class. I don't go to yoga classes. I never would anymore because I know how controlling that is and how people don't really jump truly into their bodies. You know, it's so different when you do your self practice, which is what I do. And every time it's different. And that's the beauty of it when you do it alone. When you devote yourself to that. And that's why I've created these courses to help you with that, like Tantric Life Force Mastery, Cosmic Orgasmic Mastery, Cosmic Dance. All these things are part of that, because becoming the embodiment of the spiral is challenging, because not because it's challenging in itself, but because there's so many controlling forces that simply don't recognize this as natural anymore. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you. And those years back when I was in that studio, every time they were fixing me and changing my head and positions, I'm like, how do you know, even in the lying down, the most basic asana, you know, when you're just resting, they were always fixing my head, like tilting it a different direction. I'm like, how do you know the way my body wants to be in that moment? My body knows how it's going to rest. My body knows how it contracts, how it expands. It just knows. And we've developed this sort of controlling narrative over everything because we think that's natural. Just fix it a little bit like this and your pose will be more perfect, or this is the way you rest. No one tells you how to rest. No one tells you how to dance. No one should enter the domain of your sacred body. What anyone who is teaching or facilitating these things can do is show through their own body example, you know. So when I have my courses, I just simply show an element of the practice, which if you find something that resonates with you, can implement or just see and say, ooh, you know, because the way I also implement some of the new things sometimes in the work I receive internally, sometimes Spirit will show me something on the outside, but I won't follow it. I'll just see it and I'll get that subtle impression. Maybe this is something that I also could put in my work. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I try. So today, after this dance, right, it felt like a failure. It felt like, ooh, after such a long time, this was bad. It wasn't that feeling, right, when you really become the spiral. There was still control present. And then after the practice, I just started laughing. And I said, you know what? There will be times you will have amazing dances, amazing meditation experiences, amazing guidance coming through. And there will be times when you go like, what the heck was this? You know, this is even not worthy showing up in front of the mirror for. Just because you consider yourself to be, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Whether it's a dance, something you learn somewhere, it's astrology you do. Don't consider yourself to be, I'm a master of astrology, or I'm a master of these teachings, or I'm a master of yoga, or I have Reiki mastery, whatever. You know what? No one can give you that. No one can give you that initiation but Spirit alone. And a true initiation of Spirit is to be a spiral. Holy Spirit is this all presence of life, the eternal infinite expansion of Spirit's life force that we also individually embody. So for us to be masters of anything, all we have to do is to be masters of life force, which means acknowledge everything that maybe is a part of that journey and that it's also beautiful. So when you dance beautifully, it's beautiful. When you dance in a crass way, it's also beautiful because it's a part of the process. At least you had the guts or the courage to show up. You know, for me, it was difficult because I spent so much time doing other things. And then it's like dancing again, I felt a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, I'm so natural with it. Why now it feels like a little pressured, you know? This is what we do sometimes. You gotta dance, you gotta dance, you gotta dance. You didn't dance for so long. You gotta do it. You simply gotta do it. And then again, it's pressure. When things unfold in a way when you totally let go and surrender, and you think to yourself, well, I have to dance because this is the way I channel life force, or this is the way I do this and that. And even that creates pressure. So true courage, true surrender is to say, I don't know what I need in this moment. It's okay not to know. So yesterday I was with my contractions in the belly area, and I was just simply saying to myself, and that's all I could do in that moment. I said, it's okay to not do anything. Because, you know, I'm always in need to do something, to produce, to share, to help, to assist someone. It's like sometimes my Virgo trait. It's not always good though, okay, for myself. And then I have to go in the body. And I simply let it unwind, okay, and show me the path. And I simply was saying, it's okay. It's okay not to do anything. It's okay to be free of non-doing. It's okay to just rest. It's okay to just be in this void. Because even though we say it consciously, there's elements that subconsciously maybe disagree, and there will still be contraction there. And this is the part that we can't just fix or, change or heal with the part that we say our conscious awareness or the mind. It simply has to be dealt with the greater surrender to something that maybe we haven't yet been in touch with that part of us. And this is where we're all going towards. Okay, we've been somehow programmed in this society, in this culture, even in this modern way of being, to fix and heal everything ourselves. Well, this is still the self, because the self is unified with all aspects of self, right? It's all source. So for us to allow this greater mysterious nature of spirit to come and to trust the process, that even when you don't know what's happening with you, like, why do I have these contractions and nothing works, nothing helps, it used to help me on that level. Yeah, a lot of things what spirit is showing me is work. They work because they work at that level. The deeper you go, the things and the practices that used to work for you won't. That doesn't mean you went back or you retrobated in a certain way. It simply means you've accessed a part of you, you've unlocked a certain part that you don't have the answers to yet. And you simply have to go through the process. And once you emerge on the other side, you're going to go like, I had to unlock new keys, right? I had to get new elements and insights and perspectives into what's truly happening here. I couldn't do it with the methods and techniques or whatever from what I've already known, what I've learned. That's why I avoid all spiritual arenas with people who are full of BS, to be honest, because I've met these people in the beginning parts of my awakening journey. They were all full of everything, right? They were full of themselves even sometimes, because they thought, I went here to Bali to this master and I've learned this and this art of whatever. You know what? If it's not from you, it's still BS. If you don't let that go, we learn that we have to let it go. Then we have to really bring up everything. All of our wisdom is channeled through life force, which is pure spirit intelligence. And that's why I never learned anywhere with anyone. I was always self-taught. Life was teaching me, life force was teaching me, and love was teaching me, because the way love teaches is so different. It's not through modalities or certain approaches, or it's spirit initiations that in itself, they have such wisdom that once you allow yourself to go through the experience, you will be transformed. You kind of come to the other side and you will be like, whoa, I did this all on my own, with, of course, greater aspects of me that are always one in unity. But there's a lot of people who I see, they're like, I know this, right? I know how you have to dance because I teach this, whatever. It's like, no, you don't. I'm sorry. You might be a master of your domain, whatever you do in this moment, because you consider yourself to be, and that's it. But it's much deeper to simply allow to be an empty vessel, to be so pure in your not knowing, that meets the knowing aspect, the knowing elements. It's the knowing that takes you to a certain level, but it's the unknowing, it's the uncoiling from that truly makes you an artisan of your experience, a master of life, your life, no one else's life. You have no right to tell anyone how to tilt their head the right way, or how to twirl and dance, and how they don't dance properly, because the reason why I'm sharing this so passionately is not to, judge anyone who still does that, but to simply bring an awareness to people, to recognize when it is control, to not say, what's okay with people who do that? Okay, everything is okay from an element of neutrality, right? But we have to go deeper into our greater wisdom and recognize when something is simply what it is. That's practical spirituality. We can't just live in our head and say, just put yourself in this environment and dance your head away or whatever. Just become the spiral. Well, a part of me also has to watch not to hit certain objects and not to trash my whole place. Like, the trash hotel rooms, just come and bang everything with the guitar. Sorry, going rock star here. But anyway, guys, I wanted to share this because Spirit is unveiling to me how important it is. And because I wanted to share so much, I want to push myself. I'm going to do this course and that course. And it was kind of like linear. And they're like, no, wait a minute. We have to really go deeply into the processes that we still need to untangle ourselves from to get to that, to get to the knowing of our new bodies. What are the things, right, that we need as prerequisites to step into that natural unfolding, because it's like when you uncoil yourself or unveil yourself from these aspects that are not really natural, as the way life is perceived through life force of spirit, life force mastery, everything else will just naturally start to unfold, because you're no longer in that control. Like I said, you can't even be in control of the way you are in control. You can't. So once you realize that, there's like an outpouring, and you might even cry a bit, you know, sometimes when you have your own healing process or whatever, but it's beautiful because it leads you in your own way to what you need. Because the crying is simply an unleashing of those emotions that sometimes may accompany the experience of whatever it is there. And I had someone also, when I share this, that they also felt like some sort of pains here. And I feel it's like a collective journey of the ascending ones. It might be happening for you in a different way, but eventually, you know, as the center of will was so strongly rooted here for eons of time, and it's kind of difficult for it to accept, ooh, the heart is the center now. It doesn't mean, oh, I have no functions anymore. It's like, it's kind of like you are in some job and you want a promotion, right? But you don't want to release your functions here, because then someone else will do it, and all your work was here with so much investment. Then someone else will take over. You don't want that either. Well, then how do you move on, right? It's like certain aspects that we feel, well, we've owned them, right? We've owned the mastery. You don't ever own a mastery. You simply are acknowledging yourself at that level, which you might feel like it's being owned by you, but it's an illusion. So it's like at a certain level, what you call great mastery, at another level, you're going to say, it's a bunch of crap. Sorry to say it like this. But you can't simply use anything. You are free. Your inner child speaks the way it wants to. No one tells you, oh, you shouldn't say those words. You shouldn't say that to yourself, because then it's going to be negative energy. This is not about whether you are positive or negative. There's nothing to do with that. This is simply about becoming the master of polarity, the way life force moves through you, so that it can become this independent, untamed force of life, which is the natural spiraling movement of life that naturally evolves, and it revitalizes itself, and it creates anything, like the new body templates that are being created. So this 50% download, right, was like a beautiful way of showing me that it's not like something that's predestined in a certain way, but that we, just by surrendering this, anything that we're not, all the patterns, all the controlling elements of the human experience, when we simply work on surrendering those, and it's not like I have to work on myself, you know, like you have a schedule, even when you work on yourself, you have a schedule for it. No, it doesn't work. It's like, sorry, I'm being a little humorous today, because, you know, there's an element of not being controlling the way I say these things. It's like they come out naturally. So nothing here is prepared at all. It's like just me and my rambles. But they're rambles of awareness, and it's something I myself am processing and going through, and that's why I can share about it. So I can give you a bunch of knowledge I receive, right? This high wisdom, which I also do, but predecessor to that has to be the experience, because it's the experience that will lead you into the application of all that knowing, right? But no one can show you the way exactly how that will be for you personally. So for us to be playful about it, right? The way you move yourself into the experience of whatever it is for you, let it be in your own way. So yesterday, I have to share this with you as well. This was my process, and it worked for me in that moment, and there was an element of release. It wasn't full release, but there was an element that felt like that was really needed. And what happened is, I've shared on Instagram recently, I discovered in the basement this puzzle, and it was this beautiful imagery of the beloveds. And because it was so beautiful, I wanted to do it. I'm like, I have to do this puzzle. And I totally forgot about the case that is 1,500 pieces. Yikes, we don't have really room for it. The table's a little too little, then I don't have my space and all that. But some of me, a part of me is like, oh, I need to do it. It's somehow related to this process. And the difficult part of this puzzle was it's all dark. All the pieces look similar, because I was very good at puzzles in the past, right? And it's just something about it that made me want to do it. And I did the easy parts, or pink parts, and getting to the difficult parts, and all of a sudden they all started to look the same. I was sitting there and didn't really feel good about it. It felt like, why am I doing this? I already created so many things for myself, and now I create an extra activity just to bring more pressure. It's not supposed to feel like that. It's supposed to feel spontaneous. And then when I had these contractions, right, and a part of me said, I can no longer do it this way. You know, I need to change something. What, right? Show me what in this moment can shift so that this process can be assisted through my body. But I was once again reminded of this anecdote of Saint Germain, who wanted to move out of the crystal because he was seemingly trapped in it. All he did didn't help at all. So he just let go. He let go of everything and just poof, left the magic dragon. He was out. He stopped trying. He just simply gave up. And for very strong spiritual people, that might feel like that's weakness, and it's not. It's the next level of mastery when you trust a much higher force of life than you could apply in your current life right now. So in that entanglement, right, how that connects to the puzzle is like, I was meditating on that, and I was actually, you know, in the same way like the Tibetan monks, they put together a mandala and they flush it away. But that's the easy part. When I used to do puzzles in the past, when the puzzle was whole and complete, it's easy, right, to disintegrate it. It's like put it apart again. It's easy, right, because you did it, you completed it. The hard part is when you don't complete something. It's not yet complete. You invested so much time in it. Ooh, I can't put it apart right. Ooh, there's like, there's a tug war happening, push and pull. But for me, it was easy in that moment. I'm like, I'm just gonna tear it apart. I'm gonna enjoy it. And I put this music on I really like. It's like, ooh, and it's just like, wow, I was putting it apart because it was symbolic. It was symbolic that we don't just let go things that we finish and we've culminated in. Oh, we somehow completed them. Now I can let them go. That's the easy part, right? Like with the Tibetan monks. They finished the mandala, then they put it away. It's okay. It's easy for us to do that, right? You draw a picture, you put it in a map somewhere. I don't know, not a map, but what are these things called? Like a folder somewhere. So then when I did that, I felt like, oh, it's so liberating because I don't always have to complete things. Some things don't have a completion. Some things just have a message for you. They don't need to be always completed and perfected to a certain degree or whatever. Like with the dance today I told you about. Some things simply show up to show you something. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be completed. They don't have to be approached in a certain way. They don't have to be steps towards. And now with all these teachings are like 5 steps to become enlightened, 5 steps to embody this, 5 steps to meet the person you want to be your life partner. All these things are like failure. What steps? You know, there's the spiral of life that has its own motion. It's so divine in its intelligence that for us to understand, and we can. That's why the mind can grasp this intelligence the way it used to process information up until this point. From here now on, it simply has to be this unknown walk of life. It's this, and this might feel uneasy and like really bring this sense of cringing. But it is the only way forward if we want to go deeper. So if you find yourself in a part of this process, you really can't do anything about it, basically. You know, the mere idea that we, us as individuals, have something to do about it, and I'm in control of the way I control, the way I release control, we're not in control of it. We're simply a force of love that invites this greater universal cosmic love to pour through us in a unique way and let that unfold, uncoil, whatever, through us. Just let it dissolve and disintegrate what it's not an element of that. So if you find yourself to be in that space, maybe just take a breath together with me now in this moment. If you feel it in your plexus, you can put your hand there. And let's just all together, you know, I don't know how many people watch the video. It's not about that. It's the intention and the wave of propulsion of the energy that moves through us that creates this collective process of unveiling, unburdening, dissolving, surrendering, and complete release of all control. And we can simply affirm together, I am ready to release all sense of self-control, which is also the knowledge of the self that I believe I have in this moment. And simply embrace knowledge that is universal, that always flows through me, that everything I will receive in each moment. I I don't have to hold on to things in order to have them, to keep them, to make them real, to make them mine. I can control my body. I make love to my body. I am love, food. I am the fuel of life force, which is love that flows through my body. And I'm only in charge of that. I'm only in charge of being the best caretaker of my body. And that happens naturally, so organically. Just being in love with myself, with this body, this vessel, this life. And it's okay. This life will sometimes feel like it's amazing and beautiful. I'll be perfect. I'll have spontaneous, great moments. And sometimes we'll feel like, ugh. And that's okay. It is okay to feel everything without a sense of controlling the experience and knowledge about the experience. Wisdom is knowing how to let go and surrender to this greater force of life, which I now invite through my cosmic heart space. I simply allow. And I let everything else unfold naturally. I embrace my stumbles. I embrace the process. The process is for all. It's unique for each individual, and therefore it is such a gift. We can't compare notes. We might, some level, energetically. But we simply each have to walk this journey for ourselves in our own way. Okay? I allow life to teach me, to guide me, to fuel me with love. And life is so intelligent. So all I have to do is become a part of that intelligence, which I already am. Simply allowing it. Surrendering all control that believes this is not so. That believes in itself it has to solve pieces and riddles and, like a piece of the puzzles being put together. Not necessarily. Something might come, something might go. I simply have to be in the flow to know what that is so for me in this moment. Does this serve me? Does my body crave that? Does my body long for that? Does my body say no to this? Whenever there's self kind of like tug war between, something and elements within us, there's like an inner battle happening. And all I have to do is, I don't have to solve the battle. I don't have to, solve the equation of why this is even here. I simply acknowledge it and I bring love to that. And I say it's okay. But I still choose love. And the more we choose love, we're going to naturally move the body to a higher frequency, to no longer be, it's almost like, we trying to change the mind perspectives and eliminate the mind, be more meditative in the body, this and that. That's all good. But at the same time, all we have to do is increase the love quotient, because then it's almost like the mind may get confused, but at a certain point it will become, it's like it will remember that in itself is a part of it all. It's like loving, inviting it back home, and then to unify, so that we're moving the center of will. It's like, it's just moving higher up. It's not like, ooh, now aspects will release their spot, whatever they're doing, their job, their task. What am I supposed to do now, right? The plexus might say, I was doing this for so long, it's all I know, right? And you're like, it's okay. You still have your job. It's going to be even better one. Ooh, it's going to be such joy. Your job here, right, is to laugh. This is joy, right? This is also the seed of joy. It can be that, Buddha belly laugh. Trust, you're going to have such a super better job now. Ooh, it's like, just talk to yourself, like talking to a child. And it knows. This part already so beautifully knows. Okay, so if you want to get deeper into all this, you can, of course, participate in my Tantrika Life Force Mastery course, Cosmic Dance for the Galactic Human, or Cosmic Orgasm course. Especially the Cosmic Orgasm course is so beautiful because it builds upon this wisdom to internally sustain and revitalize yourself through orgasmic charge and how to direct it in your body, how to become consciously a force, the narrative of this utilization of this cultivated energy through the cosmic orgasm, to making it more and more an expanded experience, and to open up your creative centers, which are your sexuality centers, to merge with life energies through everything you come in interaction with as well. So basically for me, what they always show me is the answer is not to seek an answer. Just each time when something like this happens, go deeper into the body. It's almost like the body has these tendencies and call outs and symptoms because it's so intelligent. It's almost like the things that we can do, the body just almost like it forces us to the new level, to the next step. It's so wise. We just have to trust it. So instead of seeing it like, oh, there's a battle and the body's stupid, doesn't know what it's doing, I know what I'm doing, why is the body not responding the right way? Hey, you're not seeing things the way they truly are. We're not when we're like this. And in those times, we have to go back to the roots, do life force mastery, as I always tell you. That for me is the highest upgrade we're giving to ourselves. It doesn't come just from the sun, cosmic rays. It helps, it assists the process of our inner alchemical mutation in a way. But we are the ones who are creating the space of allowance and increasing the light quotient within to be open to that process and to integrate it in our bodies. So this is all available on my page. And you can always support my work. The links are down below. You can also share your love the way you want to support in your own unique way, the way you feel called. And if you want to, you can join my Patreon page where I'll be moving lots of my content, especially with the coming new year, which is probably very soon. Almost like what, 1 month and a half till the New Year's. So I'm going to take a short sabbatical after I do the last course, just for a while until the end of the year, to really get myself rested, to open up to this process as well in my own way, not always be so busy with things, which is beautiful. I love to be kept busy. I enjoy it very much. Don't take me the wrong way. But there's also elements that sometimes we have to take into consideration. They're also part of the new body experience. So I'll share more and when that comes out, and I'm on it. I love you guys so very much. I hope this assisted some of you in this process. If you have more questions, I want to share now, because as you know, the question section is not directly open anymore because I had too many emails, so I had to kind of stop that, except that it's a part of my personal services where you can ask me a question. It's on my page, Set Up in Light, when you have many different services that I list, that I offer. But if you are a part of my Patreon team, if you're a part of the support team, and you can start just with the basic $5 support to get the monthly content, and then you can upgrade more. I'm going to put those options on as well for those who support more. But I also want to add that there's going to be my answering if you have any questions available there, okay, at Patreon. So those who want more support, become a part of the team, become a part of the Light Circle, our family of light. I always greet you with so much love, wisdom, and power, and I'll talk to you again very soon. See you.